So let's start with an E minor chord. The only difference between this and what we were doing is that we now have an extra string to worry about. But the technique's going to be the same. We just have to get that feel for applying this extra string into it. So grab your guitar and let's get going. If you just joined us, please remember that you can get the backing tracks, the tabs, and the write-up all for free on our website. The link is in the description below. Also, please remember to like and subscribe, and we'd love to hear from you how you're getting on. If you have any questions, remember we always respond to all the questions in the YouTube comments. So let's look at the C minor. So we're going to start with our thumb on the low E string now. And now, same idea as before, when we're ascending, we're going to work the thumb all the way up until the G string, which is where it's going to meet the first finger. So fingers are going to be same place as before, G, B, and E, and the thumb is going to go E, A, D, and then up into the fingers. And then the same idea as descending, we'll start with our third finger, third, second, first on the G, and now we're going to go first on the D, first on the A, and then thumb on the E string. So backwards, and then forwards, into backwards. So let's take a little bit of time together just to work on that. So let's look at ascending, and then when we reach the top of the ascension, we'll turn it into descending, so trying to chain the two together. So starting with our thumb on the E string, and backwards, and forwards, and backwards. Okay, so we can see really the crux of it is this and this. So we can even isolate that. This is something I always teach my students, is to isolate the difficult or the new part. So we've done all the stuff with these fingers. By now we'll be starting to get a bit more comfortable with it. So let's just look at thumb on the E string, A string, and the D string. And then when we reach the G string, we'll just come backwards with our first finger. And then get to the bottom and loop it round. And I'm just pushing the thumb through all three strings and then pulling the finger backwards through all three. And the same thing as before, the rhythm has got to stay uniform. It's very easy at this beginner stage to kind of like accidentally hit two strings or like run through the strings faster one or the other. Just keep working on it until it's nice and smooth. The way I'm doing it is that I'm pushing the thumb and it's kind of falling till it feels the next string, then I'm just waiting for the right time in the rhythm to hit it. And you heard there like a little bit of an interruption where the finger got stuck on the string, which is going to happen. And I don't have my finger like really far into the string. It's not like touching the guitar, it's just the finger tip. Okay, so there's the idea, and it's going to be the same thing with an E major or a G major. Same idea as we talked about before. I grouped these chords together because they're both 6-string chords, so the left hand's going to change, but the right hand technique is going to stay the exact same. So an E major, I see, now I made a mistake there. It's very easy to do that. I went thumb, 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 thumb. And a G major. And by the way, a lot of people, there's kind of different ways of doing the G major. So if your hand doesn't look exactly like mine, you might not have this note on the B string in there. Don't worry, it'll sound a little bit different when we're doing this plucking string, but if you're really against it, you can just do it just as 3-finger version as well. For this, I'm going to be using the 4-finger version. I think it's good to just challenge yourself. If you're a bit scared of using the 4-finger version, it's always a good time to start. Whilst we're plucking each individual string, it kind of gives you a bit of time leading up to that to get the finger in the right place. And with this, it's almost harder to do it slower. It's almost a bit easier just to run the fingers through when we're going a bit faster. So same idea, just take it nice and slowly. Whatever speed works for you is the right speed. You're not trying to jump up to the speed I just played it there. You just, whatever is nice and comfortable for you, up until the point where the rhythm or the technique starts to suffer. That's when it's too fast. So you're building the speed up, working to that point, and when you found that point, that's the speed that you're going to try and break through. So let's apply the technique to E minor and G major, 2 chords that go very naturally together. So we're going to do the same thing as before. We're going to go from the very bottom up to the top and turn on the top note, come backwards, and then same thing as with the A and the C, we're not going to hit the low E string, or like the bottom string, I'm going to call it. We're not going to hit the bottom string on the previous chord. The next time we hit the bottom string, it's going to be on the next chord. So E minor, and then G major. Back to the E minor. Take a bit of time just getting used to those chord changes. It's always a bit hard getting into this G, especially if we're doing a 4-finger version. So when you're ready, we're going to jump into doing an exercise with the drums, same as before. We're going to run these together in time. So we'll start with 70 beats per minute, same as before. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to the E. So it can be very easy on these 6-string chords to kind of get a bit flummoxed with which finger to use. So just work on that. Same as before, this is the idea that we're going to keep repeating. We're only going to move on when you're feeling comfortable with what we've just done speed-wise. You know, if it's a little bit inconsistent, like occasionally you use the wrong finger, we're not going to worry about that. Don't feel like you have to stop every time you make a small mistake. But if something that's consistently happening, where you're doubling the wrong finger or using the thumb in the wrong place, we're going to try and just stop and correct that. So that was 70. Let's do the same thing. We'll do a little bit faster this time. We'll do it at 90. Okay, so E minor to start with again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Into the G. Back to the E. Into the G. And E minor. And G. And last time with the E minor. and one more in the G. Okay, so that is our 6-string chords. Be sure to check back and join me in the next lesson where we're going to look at running 6-string, 5-string and 4-string chords together and flowing this technique appropriately to the right strings. Okay, so catch me next time. I hope you enjoyed that lesson. If you'd like to see the next one, please click here. If you want to start the course from the beginning, please click over here. And remember to like and subscribe, the good old stuff. And if you have any questions, we'd love to hear from you. We always respond to all the questions in the YouTube comments.